Hello everyone, this is Jay Grimmelkind. I hope you're all having a good day, and I wanted to give some of my first impressions on the new VRoid Studio release. Now, what you might not know is that the version used by myself in previous videos, as well as all other VRoid Studio creators, was a beta for VRoid Studio, and it's been in beta for a couple of years now, but now the full version has been released and it's had a massive UI overhaul. I've taken a brief look at the full release already. As you can see, I've made this model in like 10 minutes using the new release, because the new release is definitely way more beginner friendly, way more accessible to people who may not be artists, while still having levels of customizability needed for those who wish to do more complex and complicated things with their models. But I'm just going to do a quick sort of walkthrough here, giving my opinions on various things, and hopefully you all can learn like if you want to upgrade to the full version or if you'd like to continue using the beta version. I believe the beta version is still available for download on the VRoid Studio page. Now, when you first open up a model, you can of course still pick between a male and female model. The first screen you get to is the face sets. Now, the face sets are essentially preset faces with like different parameters and textures and such set up. And as you can see, the defaults and like the textures that come with the model look incredibly different than what was on the beta release, because like it seems like they've overhauled all of the graphics and all of the textures, and it honestly seems like some of the meshes have been redone as well. Apologies if you hear background noise. I unfortunately live by a road. But these are essentially just collected presets. As you can see, they change a little bit of everything. Let's just pick this one. Looks pretty default, so we'll pick this one. And then, as you can see, there's no option over here. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but there's no option right here to edit texture on these preset ones. However, if you go to ones that are directly editing certain parts, there is still the edit texture option. Same as it always was. You can still edit certain parts. Let's see, does the blur tool actually work now? Oh, it appears it does. The blur tool finally works. Yeah, and it seems like the drawing portions of VRoid have improved somewhat. I like the new UI, and it appears the blur still lags the program somewhat. But yeah, so you can go in here and you can still change things by hand. You can also separately tint the right eye and left eye. It's not working for some reason. There we go. So you can tint the eyes separately. You can adjust the base and shading color. And then there are also, as you might have seen, sorry, I don't 100% know how to navigate this just yet. I think if you hit, what's that saving for now? In the presets, you can see there's plenty of pre-made eyes of varying styles to be used, just whenever you would like. And this would be extremely helpful if you are not an artist and you're not really looking to learn how to like draw or make your own model. You just want to make a model and be done with that part and just move on to streaming or making videos or whatever it is you want to do with the model. Now there are more flexible options for you if that is your goal, is just get your model and go. You can now do so pretty easily. And I like how there's a bunch of different styles here. Like there's this one that's just solid color, there's more like standard anime styles, there's this one that's like a more painterly sort of style. Lots of like more sparkles, more like cell shaded, more simple, and there's no iris at all. And then you can also pick separate eye highlights, and I really like the new textures for the eye highlights, because in the original VRoid Studio, the eye highlights had an odd like blur of yellow underneath them that always sort of annoyed me when I was working with it. But now that is gone. Now these are more sort of straightforward and are just plain old eye sparkles like you'd see in any anime. You can also do the scleras, not really sure how to pronounce that. You can see, and of course you can edit the texture yourself if you wish. Let's make this scleras a little bit brighter. And there's a bunch of eyebrows. I think this is useful because you can sort of get like a template going. Even if you want to draw your own, you can sort of get a better idea. Because I've always struggled a little bit with eyebrows, just because it's sort of hard to get the idea of what shape you want right. So this is going to be pretty helpful for like trying to figure out what shapes you want and the like. You also can edit little parts of the face texture separately from the rest of the face, such as like the shading on the eyelid. You can now edit that slightly, and the eyeliner, you can just take it off completely. It looks awful. And now there's a bunch of different options you can go with. And once again, just go to edit texture and you can draw your own. Eyelashes. By default, the model no longer has those separate layered eyelashes, but you can stick them back on. You see there's quite a few options here. The eyelashes come in several different styles. This like softer, more painterly style down here, while there's a more sort of simple, cartoony one up here, which is a great variety of options. The nose, you get a little more options for how you want the nose to sort of be rendered, whether you want it to be like sort of shaded or very subtle. You now have a few more options. I don't believe any of these actually change the shape of the nose, it's just how the nose is sort of painted. Yeah, if you see from the side there was no actual change to the shape of the nose. It was just how like the shading was applied. But still, just how the shading is applied, even if the model itself is the same shape, by applying shading in certain ways, you can give the face a whole different look. Now the mouth, differences between the various mouths are pretty subtle, but you can get like little differences. Unfortunately, the full version still has you sort of seeing the teeth through the mouth. I just think that's unavoidable by the nature of these kinds of models. And then you can have the mouth inside. We can't really see the mouth inside, so we have to go to, there's now an expression editor where you can now see your model's various expressions and actually have those expressions hold until you're done editing. So now I can go to the mouth inside and actually sort of like see the inside. In the previous releases of VRoid, you could edit the inside of the mouth, but it was difficult to get the get the model to actually pose with its mouth open, so you could actually see what you're editing. So I know I can speak for myself at least. I almost never touched the inside of the mouth part unless I was just tinting it slightly, but that was about it, because it was just so difficult to actually edit. Now if you go in here, there's like a little bit of lipstick, and I should say the options that are a bit more like traditionally feminine, such as makeup, are available on both the male and female models, which I think is good. So if you ever wanted to make a male character who is wearing, for example, feminine clothing or makeup, you are still allowed to do so by the program. That was in the beta as well, and has been sustained in the full release. You can put whatever accessories or clothing or hair on your model, regardless of the model's gender. You see they can have like a little bit of blush here, it's the same thing. The makeup can be used on either sex. You have the skin here. There's only one option, but this is where you can sort of edit a few of the sort of like various parameters. I see they finally have an option to completely remove the ears. You can also edit most of the same things you could in the beta. Okay, I was gonna say, do they still have the elf ears option? It appears they do. Oh, and you can sort of edit the angle of the ears if you want them to angle more forwards or backwards. Want to edit their shape slightly, and you can remove them altogether, and they sort of flatten against the head there. It's sort of an odd look, but if you're covering it with hair, then it doesn't really matter. Yeah, they seem to be largely the same parameters as in the beta, but with like some extra names. I do believe I read that, yeah, regardless of which model you pick at the beginning, you can essentially sort of sculpt them into whatever you want. So even if you started with a female base model, you could, with these sliders, sort of morph it into a more masculine looking model, because see, I can also make them all it's a little more gender neutral looking. Now as for the face paint, this is just some default things that you can add to your model, such as there's jewelry there, got eye bags, another eye bag, some like kitsune style makeup, it has some facial hair, whiskers, some tears, things like that, and of course you can always edit them, make them your own. And got these little stitches here. It's a little late for Halloween, but I think they look cool. And once again, at the bottom here, you have the expression editor. So you can see how your model looks with certain expressions. Now, there was a known bug in the beta for VRoid Studio. I don't know if it has been fixed, but if you were to alter the default face parameters, it's the reason why some of the face parameters were removed from, I think it was the 1.11 update to the 1.12 update, if I can remember correctly. Some face parameters were removed because like expressions would have your eyebrows and eyes clipping through your head if you had altered the face parameters. It didn't always happen, but you didn't actually need to alter the face parameters very much for that glitch to happen. I don't know if that glitch has been fixed. It seems so far it has been, but I also haven't played with the face parameters too much. But at least if it hasn't been fixed, now you can actually check without having to go into the like photo mode. You can finally check properly if your model has facial features that clip through each other. And also, you can finally make some alterations that originally you would have to export into Unity for. If you wanted to give your model sharp teeth, you would have to do so by exporting your model into Unity. Because if you tried to give yourself, for example, vampire teeth, they would only appear in the photo mode. Meanwhile, now you can actually set them, for each expression you have to set them individually, but now, if I were to export this model and it were to do this expression, it would now have fangs without me having to put it in a different program to have it do so. Which is really convenient because while putting a model into Unity to edit it slightly is pretty standard, it's not too difficult, the more you can do in the base program, the better, in my opinion. Because it just makes life easier, you don't have to install some user-made plugins, good stuff like that. Alright, and now the hairstyles have had a huge overhaul. You can, of course, use all these presets. They're given bone structures and everything already. So you have like everything you need out of the box in these hairstyles. They're all ready for you to use. You can see there's a variety of preset hairstyles, kind of like this one, that were made by the VRoid team. And you can also edit them in individual parts. As you can see, you can edit the bangs separately from the rest of the face or rest of the hair. You can edit the back, make the hair long. There's overall hair, I think it's just supposed to be short hairstyles. As you can see, there's only 2 in there, and I used one of them for this model. But other than just being like short hairstyles, I'm not 100% sure what they're supposed to be. But I imagine more presets are going to be added, and I'm sure there's going to be ways to get presets off of like Booth or other related sites. See, my base hair is the wrong color. And that can be fixed. There we go. Let's just go with one of the default hair sets here. And see, you can edit the side hair. You can have a little bit of side hair, no side hair. Now, here's something I haven't quite looked at yet. Let's take off the hair entirely. Put the base hair back. This is what I don't really know just yet about how the new hair editing really works. Oh, I didn't see this. You can actually finally edit the default hair texture. That's actually great because I've had many times where I think if you see in my previous video, the raspberry cookie one, you can see that I actually just removed the base hair entirely and painted a new base hair texture onto the skin directly. So it's good that I can actually do that properly on the hair now. I can actually edit that hair texture, which is really good because the default hair texture, while there's nothing particularly wrong with it, in the beta and in this too, you can see it is shaded with a sort of grayish color, while I usually have my hair being shaded with a more of like a warmer or colder color. It's a classic way to shade things. Instead of just going directly lighter and darker, you sort of change the tint a bit and it makes your shading look more dynamic. But now I can actually do that with the base hair as well, because it would usually it would clash noticeably with the two different shading styles. I think no, I didn't mean to take away the hair again. Oops. Maybe right here. I'm go to edit hairstyle. I'm still very much figuring out this program and how it works, but I just want to see really quick what's the same and what's different. I see that we've got the grid is still there. Let's turn off all of this default hair for a moment and let's just see if anything has changed and how the grid is, because I've always felt like the grid and the mesh of the grid, mesh is more the right term for it, I always felt like the mesh was difficult to work with and not very intuitive. So I'm wondering if maybe they've updated that and changed it to make it a little more user-friendly. So let's see. Add freehand hair guides. That would be right down here. Now let's try to edit the mesh. Can I move this? So I can't move the top of the head. That's odd. Oh, yes I can. Right? Can I? What is this dot for? Yeah, the mesh still seems to be a little bit janky and hard to work with. However, at least it doesn't seem any more or less janky. It seems to be about the same as what I and others are used to. Let's see about the brushes. Yeah, those seem to be about the same. I like the new default hair textures. It's nice that I'm probably still going to make mostly my own textures, but I really like that the texture's been updated to look a lot better, because that means if I ever need to make a model, like just a quick one that won't have like as much detail to it, then I have like the option to just use the default textures and the model won't look terrible for it. Oh, they spelled strength wrong. That's okay. Spelling's hard. Let's see, you can still twist. I've never quite figured out what that's supposed to. Oh well. Oh, it still has this. Never really been able to use this very well. I should probably try. It's probably a great way to get more volume in your model's hair, is to sort of mess with the twisting a bit. Still adjust the thickness ratio and move the position. Okay, there we go. I was wondering why it wasn't giving me the option. You can still retouch hair. I really do like the new textures. They're a lot smoother, and the new highlight textures look a lot better too. I wonder if it would let me alter the highlights. That would be incredibly useful if I could edit the highlights myself. Oh, I can! Finally, you can alter the highlights yourself, so you can make automatic highlights that suit your style a bit better than the default ones. The default hair design, yeah, it looks a lot better. I'll close that. Close that saving. So that's really good. I really like that, how they overhauled the hair. I hadn't really taken a look at the hair much earlier. I used just a default hair thing just for this, but I'll just give her default hair for now. I noticed the body has been overhauled ever so slightly. There's of course mostly the same sliders. You can give your model a more visible Adam's apple if you are trying to make a more masculine looking character. You can also edit the bust size of your characters. This is part of how you can make a model of a starting gender into another gender. Alright, now we've made a Kingdom Hearts character. You can sort of mess with the proportions there. It's great that we have more options with this sheet. Sorry, with the sliders. Let me see, can I break the sliders? Will it allow me to do? Yep, I sure can. Great, good to know. You can still break the sliders. That's good. Even though that example there was horrifying, being able to push the sliders past their limits does give creators a lot more freedom with what they can do. And then these are just texture presets. I think one is just more masculine and one is more feminine, but since our model is fully clothed, we can't really see the difference anyways. Now, in the outfits, there's a lot of pre-made outfits and such. It's all the same meshes as it was in the original VRoid. I don't think they've added any new meshes. Oh, well, they've added a little bit. I think they've added the ability to layer certain things on top of each other. So, as you can see, I think this is two different dress meshes layered on top of each other with the textures altered, which is incredibly useful. So you can finally put clothing items on top of each other. But yeah, it comes with a lot of default cute outfits if you want to dress up your model without having to make the outfit yourself. I'm sure there's going to be lots of pre-made outfits put on Booth and other similar sites. I might try my hand at making a couple. I know I initially planned to make some default outfits for people to use. I never quite got around to it, but who knows, maybe I'll try my hand at making some clothes for this new VRoid release. Also, from my testing so far, there was a known bug, or I guess you could consider it a bug, where models' arms would often clip through their clothes. I haven't fully tested to see if that bug is still there, but from what I know, I think it's been fixed. So you no longer have to erase the skin underneath the clothes, which is good because that was always rather difficult. Yeah, as you see here, there's a lot more freedom now of preset items that come with the program that you can use, not just a default school uniform anymore. As you can see, there's now different outfits and such. This doesn't really mean much for those who draw all of their own clothing by default. However, it is nice for those, again, who don't want to draw everything themselves. They just need a model so they can get started in VTubing or whatever you use your models for, and they just need to get what they need and leave. They don't really have any desire to really learn the program. They just want to make something and go, which, I mean, is completely valid, honestly. There's probably some VRoid artists that would tell you, no, you should learn the program, but personally, if you just want to get what you need and get out, then that's completely fine. As you can see, you can edit the pants separately from the rest of the outfit. I believe, can you put dresses on top of clothes? No, it appears you can't. Maybe there's a way to finagle it so it'll let you do that. Got back on. And the neck accessories are largely the same. They're the same sort of bow tie and normal tie that were in the default program, but they come with a couple extra textures now. It's a little more, the UI all around for picking out clothes has improved so much. They have arm accessories. What is the texture of that going to be like? Okay. So now you can... They knew that people were just drawing accessories onto the skin, so they now gave you ability to do that without having to directly edit the skin. I understand. Okay. Alright, that's pretty convenient. Alright. And you can change, I think this is just stuff that's glued directly to the skin. Same thing with the underwear. You can add socks separately now. And there's got more variety of shoes. Again, I'm pretty sure these all use the same meshes as default. However, now they come with a lot of new pre-made textures to sort of give you a better idea of how to make certain types of shoes out of what is provided by VRoid Studio. Just put some sneakers on her. Now, what is completely new is the ability to add accessories. Now, there's only these accessories so far. You can add animal ears. Oh, didn't mean to add both of them. You can now add animal ears. You can see my model has them. I did not need to sculpt them out of hair anymore. I wouldn't say this makes methods of sculpting your own glasses or ears completely obsolete, as you still have more freedom over the shapes, and also since a lot of models are going to have these preset accessories, if you want your model to stand out, you're probably going to need to make your own. Otherwise, your model will just look like every other one, which, considering how VRoid quickly sort of has oversaturated the 3D VTuber market, you definitely want to make sure to put as much custom work into your model as possible if you want it to stand out among the rest. Like, while this model looks good, this is quickly going to become a very generic look. So if you want your model to be unique, you're still going to need to put your own work into it. Let's see, I can add an accessory. Is there an option to do custom accessories? I can customize the ears and the glasses, but I can't seem to make my own accessories or import custom accessories, which is honestly a bit of a shame, because I feel like if there was some sort of support for maybe importing like little Blender models, I think that would be incredibly useful and just overall a pretty popular choice. You've also got sliders here to edit the various parameters of these accessories. Let me see, what do the glasses have? Oh yeah, you can change the shape. So you do have quite a bit of freedom over your models and what you want to do with them and your accessories. But I still feel like it's going to be very useful to be able to make your own accessories out of hair, because again, there's just these glasses and ears so far. I'm sure they'll add more, but still. And being able to sort of make your own means you don't have to rely on VRoid's developers to make the content you need. So I don't believe all of our methods of making accessories have been made obsolete by this. I'm sure they're going to add more accessories as further updates come out, but I think you should still practice your skills of making your own accessories. And then this is just the standard stuff. It's all the same. Like, you can mess with the default outlines for the head, the hair, the body. You get a separate outline for the accessories, which I think is interesting. If you've seen any of my videos, you know I prefer no outlines at all. I just prefer the softer look. But yeah, it's pretty much all the same here. You can edit these things. Edit the shading. I don't like the default shader for VRoid, so I usually take it off. And you can edit the way gravity is applied to your model. And if you go to this camera up here and let it load for a moment, this is going to be the screen where you can actually preview your model. And as I mentioned before, the hair we got will have physics already applied to it. See, the poser is mostly the same. As you can see, the hair already has bones pre-made because it was one of the preset hairstyles. And you see the pose maker thing is pretty much the same as it was. They've added a few new animations, but these are mostly the same ones we've always had in VRoid for sort of previewing our models and how they look in motion. As you can see, there's like a couple new poses. This one's dramatic. And you see there's a couple poses that aren't animated that have been added. They've also added animations. One I've noticed is the more feminine animations, while Animations 2 is sort of the more masculine ones. I guess because the program is sort of like moving away from gendered terminology, that's why they did just Animations 1 and Animations 2. But if you're wondering what the difference is, Animation 1 is the female animation, and Animation 2 is the male animation. And they've also renamed a few animations. I believe that was originally one of the standby animations, was this like sort of shy gesture, at least if I remember correctly. And they've got like a few very pretty niche animations. Like these, I'm pretty sure, are just here so you can preview random movements and make sure nothing's clipping. They do give you pretty random things to test with. But yeah, and all of this stuff is largely the same, and you can still export images. And but unlike in the previous versions of VRoid, this is not where you actually export your model. You have to go back to the main editor, and it's this button here where you export as VRM, export to VRoid Hub, and export for 3D printing, which is currently in preparation. I'm interested to know how they'll do that, because I've looked at VRoid models in like 3D modeling software before, and as you may know from watching other VRoid creators, clothes are often drawn on and with like parts being erased, and those meshes are still there. They just have no textures applied to them. So if, for example, this outfit here, let's say maybe was originally a long dress, but everything was erased up to the crop top area, the mesh for the rest of the dress would still be there. And so that made it pretty difficult to export models for 3D printing, because 3D printing would still put those erased clothing items in there. Now, there may be like something in development. They say it's not ready yet. Oops, I hit the wrong button. They said that it's like coming soon, so that doesn't mean there's going to be content updates. But in preparation, they're probably figuring out a way so you can kind of tell the program what is and what isn't like meant to be there. Maybe it will automatically filter out invisible parts of meshes. But yeah, so there will be more updates coming. It shows that you can upload directly to VRoid Hub as usual, and then export to VRM. Another thing that's changed is how you save models. You see up here, save as, but instead of being saved like to a random file somewhere on your computer visible in the editor, it is now actually saved in like your computer. You choose where to save the .vroid file, which I can see why they did that, because I know a lot of people were confused, like where do I find the actual editable .vroid file, because the VRM file, you can't open that back up in VRoid and edit it further. But now you can choose where you save that, and you can know where it is. Go back to model selection. It has my most recent sculpt here. It doesn't have any of my older ones because I no longer have those. But as you see, it has them still saved here. What model was this? Was this? Oh, yeah. See, this is the one I threw together for this video. But you can actually return to model selection now, which you were not always able to do. Originally, you had to exit the program entirely and reopen it. Let's see. You need to convert its data. Well, I'm not going to mess with that just yet. Alright, so with that being said, I think I covered almost everything with my first impressions with the new full VRoid Studio release. Again, it's up to you whether you want to move from the beta version to this version. I think the beta version still holds up. However, it seems so far that the full version has every feature that we know from the original and more, which may make it more worthwhile than still trying to make the beta version work. But again, it just goes with whatever is more familiar to you, what is more comfortable for you, and whatever you prefer to work with. But overall, I think the new VRoid release is incredibly useful. Especially for those who are not particularly like artistically inclined. It is way more accessible because even though VRoid, the beta, did a lot of like the heavy lifting for the user, you still had to like draw on your own hair, you still had to like color stuff yourself, and it was pretty difficult to get a model to look good using the default assets because a lot of them were pretty like lackluster, whereas now there's a lot more defaults to work with, more presets, and there's just more that you can do if you are not an artist. So the program has become a lot more accessible, but it seems like there's still a lot of customizability for those who are already familiar with the program and want to do more like customized things. So overall, I have a very positive opinion of it, and I'm going to be playing with it more in the future and hopefully producing more content for you all. So if you like this video, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. My channel is a bit of a mixed bag with content. It's mostly centered around my art. You'll sometimes see highlights from my streams. You can find a link to my Twitch in the description. Sometimes you just find silly videos I put together for fun. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. But I hope you'll subscribe anyways, and come back around if I make any more content that you enjoy. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. See you around!